I'm Sheboygan, the admin of the Dredge Wiki. All this information should be available at dredge.wiki.gg. However, this video does contain 3 new leaked fish as well as a confirmation of one of the silhouettes in a Steam screenshot. The Wiki team dug deep to make sure that we had absolutely every bit of information about the upcoming DLC. Check the description for timestamps. If you want to contribute to the Wiki, there's also a link down there in the description. Now, to answer the question that brought you here, what did we dredge up? And I won't be apologizing for quality humor. Throughout this video, the eye icon will be up in the top left corner. If it's green, that means that what I'm saying is as good as confirmed. There's very little reason to doubt. If it's orange, what I'm talking about is an informed guess as to how a mechanic will be used. Our team has over 1,000 plus hours of playtime, some of us with over 300, so this is a fairly well-researched project. If the eye ever turns red, then what I'm saying is essentially just a best guess at connecting the dots. This is the kind of info that would be left off the wiki, as it's not really fact. That said, I think you should hear me out, because it's not just nonsense. Let's get right to it with characters. So far as we know, there are 4 interactable characters. The first character teased was the founder. When the official trailer dropped, it prominently featured the scientist and the foreman. Lastly, Black Salt Games launched the DLC website on dredge.game. They only meant to post this image, but using the handy F12 key, we found out that her name is the engineer. What all these characters do is discussed later in the video. There were also a few suits that could be seen in the trailer. This is likely some kind of C-suite executive officer from the Ironhaven Corporation. It's unlikely that he'll be featured in the actual DLC, though the fact that he has a face and a detailed design, unlike the other 2 silhouetted characters on the left and right, might be a reason to believe otherwise. Either way, he's clearly the foreman's motivating force to get the rig up and running, and therefore hire the player. Alright, a bit of a longer topic here is the equipment. When it comes to equipment, we've been promised a few things in the first place, so let's see what it is that we've actually seen. It's hard to know what to start with when talking about the equipment. On the left side of the cargo in this screenshot, we can see a new piece of equipment installed over the net slot. A lot of the initial speculation was that this device was an oil skimmer, like this one that's shown. However, I think the answer isn't actually in this screenshot, but actually it's pairing it with another leaked piece of equipment. On dredge.game, one of the images leaked was this guy, which is named aberrationbait.png. If we look at these 2 images together, we can pretty clearly draw a parallel between the tank in which the bait is suspended and the tank affixed to this equipment. With both being in the boat's cargo in the Steam screenshot, this would lead me to believe that this is actually a dispenser of sorts, and we will be getting more than just aberration bait. You can also see that the trailer provides a timeline of how the DLC will progress. It's only after the player is gifted with this device that the fisherman returns with a ton of aberrations. In my opinion, and this is opinion, this is a nice balancing choice. This system means that these more powerful types of bait are going to be nerfed by the fact that you have to reduce the number of rods you can equip while using them. And I thought that was a neat touch. Alright, back to the facts. In one of the Steam screenshots, you can see a yellow 2x2 fishing rod equipped on the right. We also saw some yellow tackle on the dredge.game page. Both of them have a distinct yellow color of the iron rig. One of the wiki contributors was quick to point out the design similarities between these and the hydraulic rod and the fathomless winch. For both, it's not just the gold or brass coloring that stands out, but also the slimmer, lightweight design. Maybe this has some gameplay connotation, that this equipment is more of a side grade in some way, but there isn't a way to confirm. Another thing worth noting here is that the hand cranks on both of the rods in the old models are now automated in the new one with motors and belts. While making this video, they released a new video on Instagram that shows an upgraded flexible fishing rod. And before anyone starts asking what this rod is, this is the pre-order bonus rod that you would get in black if you ordered it on Steam. This is an old rod. This isn't anything new. There's a page on the wiki about it, link in the description. We've also noticed these small black tubes that are attached to each rod. It's possible that this new equipment needs a fuel source to operate and will be nerfed or even unusable when it runs out. It seems to be like black ooze or the oil that is being used as the fuel, but it's not entirely clear. Looking at the fishing speed bonus for both of these cargo holds, we can estimate that the new rods will have about 3 times the efficiency, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 times. The hydraulic rod on the left has 150. You can also notice that the net bait dispenser doesn't give a bonus, so that's exactly 3 times, whereas on the right, the flexible fishing rod has a base of 45. And this one, 210, minus 50 from the hydraulic rod, minus 50 from the pre-order rod. It gives you approximately 2.4 times bonus. With these 3 upgraded rods in mind, let's look more closely at the promises BSG's made. One on the Steam store says, craft a new tier of equipment with 9 new pieces of gear. The other on the Discord announcement, upgrade your equipment to catch fish, craft new nets and other helpful items. It would seem to be that there are 2 different promises here. Craft a new tier of equipment and 9 new pieces of gear. If this is true, that means on the high end, we would be getting an upgraded version of the 8 other rods included in the base game. This is of course not including the region-specific rods, like the anti-tangle line and the volcanic rod, on top of the 9 new bits of gear that was promised. On the low end, it means we could just be getting the bait dispenser attachment and have the 8 upgraded pieces of equipment to hit a total of 9 pieces. So we don't know exactly which way the cookie will crumble, but it seems to be promising towards the higher end. Okay, to talk about the other elements of the screenshot, what is this fish? Despite there being a few species with this odd jaw shape throughout history, I know exactly what species it is. But before I leak these new fish, first let's round up all the others that you've likely discovered. So the first 4 fish leaked were as silhouettes in the BSG newsletter. Some are clearer than others. We clearly have a tripod fish and a lancet fish, as well as a sawfish. We don't have images of these yet, but we do have this prediction of the swordfish by Discord user Random Rhynchodontid. The middle silhouette has been a little bit harder to pin down, as there have been many creatures throughout history with this body type. The most famous radiodonta species is the Anomalocaris, and I am going to butcher these pronunciations, but it doesn't quite fit the shape of the silhouette. Now, I'll admit, I'm not an archaeology nerd, but luckily, folks like Yun11 contribute to the Wikimedia Commons. A self-proclaimed anthropod enthusiast, he has contributed these lovely images for us to compare to the silhouette. I'd say Amplectobillua cymbrachiata or Lyrapax unguispinus. Lyrapax unguispinus are the 2 he's drawn that, to me, look the most similar. However, Lyrapax only seems to grow to about 9 centimeter maximum, dwarfed by Amplectobelua's 90 centimeter length. Given the scale of the game Dredge, I think that makes Amplectobellua our most likely candidate. That said, I also think it's going to be just named Radiodontid. Amplectobellua also happens to have lived in the Paleozoic era during the Cambrian period. This is important detail because it's not our only fish from the Paleozoic era, being a very long era. On dredge.game, this image was posted. By checking the name of the file, we can see that it's tiled Dunkleosteus AB1_edited.png. Whew. I should say, these names were definitely not meant to be leaked. If you simply mouse over any of the images on the site, it says Blackmouth Salmon PNG instead. While this Dunkleosteus is an aberration, Dunkleosteus was around in the Devonian period, mid-Paleozoic era. The theme of Paleozoic fish is further confirmed by our first new fish reveal. The silhouette in the minigame screenshot is none other than the Tully monster. Tully monstrum were around during the Pennsylvanian period. The second reveal is this guy, simply named Osteostracon, the exact species of which I have no idea how to identify. However, this fish and the others firmly cements the Paleozoic as our ancient era time frame. We might still get some fish from the Mesozoic or the Cenozoic or even Precambrian, but it seems unlikely for now. If you want to learn more about Osteostraci, and try to identify it, I've linked a video about ostracoderms, which also include Dunkleosteus. While watching this video, they mentioned the Titanichthys, which I would guess is going to be included based solely on the name. Maybe it's our new exotic fish, Titanichthys. That's so cool. Okay, so the last two fish species that we know are coming, that are new in this video, are actually still alive today. We have the paddlefish, which is, I believe, critically endangered, and the sea cucumber. The sea cucumber seems to be inspired by the California sea cucumber, which also confirms the existence of California in the world of Dredge. It's canon now. The paddlefish is predominantly found in the Mississippi River. Looking at these with the tripod fish and the lancet fish, it's hard to draw any connections. They don't live in the same oceanic zones or regions, so who knows what the theme is between these four fish. During the trailer, we also see two different piles of aberrations, including our Dunkleosteus. While we don't have any definitive answers, this tray of fish has a number of different possible aberrations in it, including a lamprey eel, the Dunkleosteus, obviously, possibly both variants of it. And then it also, to me, with the red coloring of the main fish in the middle, kind of looks like it would be just a Pacific salmon. You know how they turn red as they go upstream? That's just some theories. It is kind of weird, though, because a Dunkleosteus should be way, way, way bigger than this. On the boat and on the lift, the fish are different, however. One green one seems to have a jaw jutting out, similar to the anglerfish aberration. The harpoon-looking thing could be the sawtooth aberration, or even just a harpoon, though that's less likely. Okay, so originally I had a whole section here where I theorized that this aberration on the left was a helicoprion, which is a fish that lived in the Precambrian era. But I should have checked this ahead of time because it was another theory that I had. It's just the grizzly shark, which is the goblin shark aberration. And add insult to injury, the fish that we can't even see the front of in this shot is a regular goblin shark. So helicoprion, not confirmed in any way, or even possible, but I hope it'll still show up anyway because it's a cool fish and it fits the time period. It's a Paleozoic fish, so that happened. One last thing to note about fish here, and I didn't write this in the script, but because I forgot to write it down, but we've previously been promised 50 fish. However, Joel clarified in this Reddit comment that what they mean is there will be 25 fish with aberrations that total more than 50 fish. So we're not getting 50 normal fish and all of them have more than one or more aberrations. Instead, we're getting 25 normal fish and aberrations from there. So let's talk about the story. The story so far seems very clear from the trailer. The ship with the materials for the rig was destroyed en route. The foreman, under pressure from upper management, turns to the player for help. The player has to dredge up boxes of materials and deliver them to the rig. There he meets the scientist, who asks him to collect aberrations for his studies. Beyond that, we aren't entirely sure what to expect. A few things we do know is what the Ironhaven Corporation is. Thanks to an Ask Dev post on the Discord server, BSG Joel informed us that Ironhaven is what's known as a company town. Or this might be an example of Joel trolling an argument by giving a split answer, like he is known to do, but I'm going to assume not for now. A company town is essentially a town built and owned by a company to relocate a large number of their employees nearer their job. A famous example of this practice is Fordlandia, which was a company town created by Henry Ford in Brazil for the purpose of cultivating rubber plants. It ultimately failed. I've linked a video in the description explaining why it failed and why company towns are a bad idea. We've also known for a long time that there would be a story tie-in with an existing character. And people have theorized for a long time it would be the researcher. In the base game, the researcher mentions having studied in the Ironhaven College.
A certain researcher mentions them, but seems to not want to discuss further. What else could the corporation be hiding?
You might have noticed that the background between these two is different, even though what she's saying is the same. I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe there's something in the foreground that they've changed the perspective in this clip because it's been added to the new version of the game and they don't want to show it on camera. Who knows? We also know that the Iron Rig isn't a new region, but rather will affect the other regions of the game as you progress. On the map behind the picture of the scientist, we can see a red line that actually matches with the red rift seen underwater in other screenshots. It's reasonable to understand that the rift will continue to spread to other regions. There's also a map we can see in the trailer video hung up behind the two silhouetted figures, and by superimposing it over the scientist's map, I created this composite that's a little bit easier to read. And I also completed the circle that's in the bottom left corner. And so we can see a few different things. There's two different shipwrecks that are marked with X's, as well as a big circle that seems to be circled around the researcher's old research station where the noise generator gets installed in the base game. This is particularly interesting because it implies that there's something that the Ironhaven Corporation wants that she was studying and had at that facility that now needs to be found. If they knew where it was, it would be marked with an X the way that the shipwrecks are. But because it's a circle, it seems to imply that we need to search that area to find something that they want. It's not entirely clear that the researcher knows that she had this thing, or that anyone knows what it is besides the Ironhaven Corp. My best guess would be that they're going to try and fill in the gaps in the map. As the drill digs deeper, the rift is likely to spread to its full size. The rift is likely to be where the Paleozoic fish are leaking from. Totally speculative. This is our best guess as to where each of the Paleozoic fish will spawn. Essentially, our theory is that the ancient fish are going to be appearing in regions that are kind of similar to their native habitat. But then again, they're all Paleozoic fish. It's all speculative. We really don't know where these fish are going to appear or what has to be done before their fishing spots are available to the player. All right, let's talk gameplay. And this is a much bigger topic. This is most of the content. It's some of the more speculative material, but there are still a lot of things that we are fairly confident on. So one theory that we have about the rig is that each destination, and to be clear, a destination is any of the clickable names when you've attached to a dock. For example, the fishmonger, the dry dock, the floating dock, if you're docked at the traveling merchant. So we think that the destinations of the Iron Rig will parallel the Marrows. The foreman provides the same function as the mayor, giving missions to slowly give access to the various gameplay mechanics. The scientist, in the science lab, acts as the collector, asking for some kind of rare item to unlock new abilities. In the case of the scientist, this is aberrations instead of relics. The founder, at the foundry, obviously, acts like the dry dock, allowing upgrades to your boat and hull. The engineer at the tech lab allows for upgrades to your equipment, which you would normally purchase from the shipwright. We don't know exactly what the tab generator is or how it will work, but it's most likely involved with spreading the rift around the world. Maybe you deliver a fuel source like oil to dig the drill down one stage deeper, and that makes the rift spread. The factory is likely where new materials need to be deposited to upgrade the rig as a whole. This theory is based on the icon next to the destination name, which is a crane lifting materials up to the rig like in the trailer. It would not be surprising if, when you open that tab, it resembles something like the upgrade tree found at the dry dock, where you can choose which element you're upgrading, and it'll have a slot for you to deposit materials. This is future production me coming in to say, one, I totally nailed this prediction. It looks almost exactly like it, but you'll also notice underneath where it says Science Lab, it says Base, and that's a tab, which means that after you've unlocked the main elements of the story, so the factory and the Science Lab, probably the generator, then more tabs will appear that will let you upgrade other elements of the rig to higher tiers. So you'll be able to switch between the tabs and upgrade specific elements of the iron rig. It's not always going to be linear. It's been said in the FAQ that we'll be able to upgrade abilities, though we have no idea which abilities will be upgradable or what kind of upgrades we're going to see. But I want to think that the foghorn will finally get an upgrade. That was teased all the way back when the demo released, and we had the dev demo playthrough live stream.
I missed that question from before where somebody asked about upgrading the foghorn. We really thought about this actually. We quite like it as an idea because the foghorn's kind of fun. Yeah. It's somewhere on the list of things that we would want to do, but I don't know if it'll get done.
We've also noted that tiers are a big element of this update. Both the structures on the rig as well as the fishing spots have these chevron icons that are accompanied by Roman numerals. This also matches the DLC's splash icon that has a chevron. I would suspect that the dry dock and research tree also has these tiers and maybe even the upgraded abilities. That said, of all of the materials that have been released so far, we haven't seen anything that goes above Tier 1. This is interesting because there's clearly the intent for you to go above Tier 1 given the Roman numerals. If there were no tier above Tier 1, then there wouldn't be a Roman numeral included at all. So this is something that we're very much looking forward to seeing how it can be expanded upon. We don't know a lot about the map, as the team has been very careful to only release videos during the opening phases of the DLC before the rift has spread to other regions. Possibly even because anything beyond that was not ready when they first started filming the teaser content. We can see in these few screenshots that the crack aligns with the map behind the scientist. The first shipwreck is at F16, right next to the rig at J15. This is purely speculation, but I think that the rift could resemble something in the lore that we're already familiar with when it's completed. For example, something like the logo on the front of the Book of the Deep, but there's literally zero evidence to support that. That's just the kind of thing that, I've noticed game developers will tend to do with this kind of thing. There's a few elements in the game that we currently have no idea what they're going to do, we just know they're there. First being the Black Ooze. The Black Ooze is affectionately named after one Discord user who saw it in a dream, and the Black Ooze can be seen in the player's hull as well as on the surface of the water. While the colors are consistent with oil refracting light on the surface of water, it also heavily emphasizes the colors of aberrations, teal and crimson. It's unclear whether this oil in the cargo is a good or a bad thing. It may be needed to power the new kinds of equipment, but it's more likely to be inside of a tube of some kind, not just sitting loose in the boat. My theory is that it's more like rotten flesh in the base game. In the Dredge Wiki Discord, I actually asked 2 questions about this screenshot to the community. Surprisingly, Joel responded to one of them, and only one. You can see that he was talking about how the wave is likely splitting the headlights, and that's not something that we need to read into. Which tells me that we should read into the fact that he didn't respond to the other question. So this to me feels like he was intentionally or ignoring my other theory because it might be correct. Joel is often one to troll the fandom by giving non-answers to players. As of now, this is our best theory. So maybe while you are fishing at these fishing spots, you slowly sink into the oil. You can see that this red hue is a plane cutting the boat kind of in half. And so it's my theory that as you fish at these spots, you slowly start to quote unquote sink into the water with oil flowing over the sides of your boats, so starting to fill your cargo hold, making it more difficult to store your fish. And this is another late addition to the video, but if you look at the speed of the boat in knots in this screenshot, it's actually comes out to about 11 knots slower than it's supposed to be, which is approximately 11% decreased in speed per oil in the cargo. So that's at this point what we think it'll do. It's pretty definitive at this point that the oil in your boat is a bad thing. So there's a new hull. There's really not much to say here. We know what it looks like. We don't know how you get it or what kind of special materials you need or even what special properties it might have. All of the screenshots that we have of gameplay have the tier 3 boat from the base game, not even the fully upgraded one. So maybe this hull will be kind of like the icebreaker where you can equip and unequip it by talking to someone. I think that could be really cool. The rest of the Iron Rig DLC seems to be focused on side grades, things that have benefits, but you have to take on a detriment with it in order for it to stay balanced. And so maybe this boat has more storage, but it has fewer engine slots than the tier 4 boat, meaning you have to move more slowly through the water. I think that could be a cool balancing element. One last thing we can talk about is achievements. By looking at the Pale Reach achievements, we can predict what most of the 12 secret achievements are going to be once it launches. So the first is the main quest, and of course, finish all side quests. There's also likely an achievement for getting all of the upgraded equipment unlocked in the store, as well as unlocking and upgrading to the 5th tier hull, because these are both achievements that were in the base game. We also know that there's almost certainly going to be catch all fish species in the Iron Rig DLC, as well as catch all the aberrations. There's probably an achievement for starting the quest, and then there might be an achievement for installing that new bait dispensing piece of equipment, because we've also seen achievements like that previously. And so that totals 8 of the 12. It's pretty similar to Pale Reach. The Pale Reach had an achievement for catching the colossal squid, and so maybe there's a special fish that is difficult to catch in the Iron Rig that will also get its own achievement. I didn't include it on the list because they could very well just choose not to do that, and there's no way to confirm it. Well, we don't have any prior evidence of this kind of thing. We might also get an achievement for building our first part of the Iron Rig, and we're almost certainly going to get an achievement for finishing building the Iron Rig. And then if I had to guess what our last one is, it's activating the generator for the first time so the rift spreads. Although, like I said, those are the achievements I have the least evidence for. But these 8, I feel very confident in saying that they will be the achievements. So there's 4 mystery achievements that I look forward to getting as soon as the game launches, because I'm a completionist and I love that kind of thing. So, one thing I forgot to share earlier is these new screenshots that I have as well to share. They're from an older build of the game, so some of this content might be gone entirely from the full release. We know it's an older build because of this screenshot here where the destinations are different. Research and development is all as one tab. It's also interesting because on the bottom of the rig we can see the drill bit is not like this spiral one that we see in the trailer. So maybe it's changed, maybe it's just an inconsistency, I don't know. but also you can see that some of these screenshots did end up getting reused later. So just thought you might enjoy seeing those new screenshots. If you want to help contribute to the wiki, you can join our Discord server. We also host monthly, hopefully soon, monthly events, and in the future are even planning to have Steam gift cards as the prize to our winners. We have fishing tournaments where in a time limit we all have to try and catch as many trophy fish as we can. The new equipment in the Iron Rig is going to make it really interesting. We don't know how it's going to affect the gameplay, but we're looking forward to that. So we have one tournament coming up before August on July 28th, and we have one planned for after Iron Rig comes out, probably a week and a half, 2 weeks afterwards. So that date is still yet to be announced. And then also we have a lot of people we have a channel dedicated to discussing the lore and digging deeper into exactly what happens and what all the different notes mean in dialogue. We have a channel dedicated to working on the wiki. We need a lot of things that are updated. We sometimes get a little bit of insider information, so if you want to be the first to know about new things in the world of Dredge, join that Discord server. The link is on the homepage of the wiki as well as in the description of this video. If you enjoyed the video, you can subscribe. You might notice that there aren't any videos posted here. That's because I had previously been posting just on my regular YouTube channel, my personal one with my name attached. And so I'll be moving some of the videos off of there soon. No promises that I'll ever make any videos. I have 1 or 2 planned that I think will be interesting, but this is not like a thing I do. Don't subscribe to this channel expecting, regular videos or anything like that. So thanks for watching, and see you around.